did involve a considerable amount of...
Try again.
It did involve a considerable amount of...
Say considerable again.
Considerable.
Very good. Right, where are we?
We just have to say that because the Samson picture is so good.
Can you try to say that without slurring?
No.
Have a go.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, more like.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with an episode called The Camera in the Potato. It is episode 30, is it?
It is indeed.
Episode 30?
No, this is podcast 30.
Sorry, podcast 30.
And it's episode 2 of season
Episode
5.
2 of...
Do you start this? This thing about what episode, what series
I
it
know,
is.
it's quite nice though when we know. It's only when we're
don't
rambling around going...
It's a
which one is
defensive
it?
reaction on my part, I think.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Right.
We'll start again. The Camera in the Potato.
Now, I think this was a particularly good one for Mr. Guy Siner, so I think you should give us some thoughts.
Well, I have to say I enjoyed it. It was a particularly good one for Gruber. I got to sing 2 songs.
You did.
At the
Rather
piano.
well, I thought.
Was it 2 or was it 3?
Can't help
Can't help loving that man of mine, and then if you ever
Oh, yes.
was it?
It was actually...
Yes.
Because we won the war.
It's a Galway song, actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
If
If you ever find yourself on the way to England,
Yes, they'd adapted it into...
yes, they adapted it. As the Germans have won the war, hip hip hooray. Yes, and I enjoyed that enormously.
And then you had a bath.
And then I had a bath, and René came into my bedroom with his potato.
Was the water warm?
It was just foam. There was no water at all.
Because I've done
That must
bath
have been quite
scenes
cold,
and things
wasn't it?
occasionally, and it's never warm enough.
Yeah, I was in swimming trunks, and I was just foam. They just put a lot of foam around
Right.
me, and so when I got out and put the towel around me, I don't know if you noticed, there was still foam, and I had to put
Yes.
slippers on, legs
Which
covered in foam.
Gruber would never put his slippers on with foam on
Probably
his feet,
not.
would he?
But then I got to wear the most beautiful silk dressing gown again,
Thanks to
Christian Dial.
Yes.
Handmade silk.
Handmade, beautiful, pale blue silk dressing gown.
It didn't go missing off the set, did it?
No, it didn't.
No, they were very careful to make sure those things
they made absolutely sure. I believe
Because one of them tried to go home with me.
I believe I
It
was.
tried to follow me home, and they wouldn't let it.
I believe I was frisked at the door on the way out.
The job's worth.
Yeah, hello, signer.
I know you, mate. I know what's in that bag of yours.
Let's
You
have
and your fancy MR2 car.
let's have a look. Yeah.
But it's actually, we're getting to see so much more of the interior of the chateau now, aren't we?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Yeah,
In my
we've seen-
bedroom with
we've
the
seen
safe, with the
these
safe in
lovely
it.
rooms.
Was that bed a prop, or was it something they got from an antiques emporium? It was the most unbelievably
It was
elaborate.
enormous. It was the size of the
And
Henry,
ornate.
the Great Bed of Ware.
What's
you know,
that?
Henry VIII's bed, which is in the Victoria and Albert Museum.
V&A.
The Great Bed of Ware, it's called, which would sleep about 8 people. And I think it only slept Henry VIII, who could just about fit in it.
Yeah.
But it was the size of this cottage.
But was it a prop? Because it was so ornate.
I honestly don't know. I think it was probably specially made, was it?
Cheers.
By the
Don't
props,
want to get dehydrated.
by the props
Yeah, no.
department. Oh yes, can't do that. But yes, I think I've probably said enough now. Yeah.
This October, we will be appearing live in our Listen Very Carefully stage show
In Guildford?
Salford.
and Shrewsbury.
For booking details, go to fane.co.uk.
That's F for Fanny
A for Alphonse,
N for Nouvion.
and E for Engelbert.
The other thing that I just completely loved about the episode was Kim's wig again, which shaking out her beautiful hair and
It was actually quite interesting because just before you said that Herr
While we
Flick
were watching
said,
it, I said, this looks like a wig watch.
yeah, it was like
And then almost immediately Herr Flick said, take down your hair.
Yes.
it was like Rapunzel. It
Yes.
went practically all the way
But
to
when
the
you
floor.
first did it, it was 2 little dinky plaits. They were like little piggies' tails.
Yes.
And you shook your head, and then it cut away, and the next time you saw it was
It was cascading down.
So I wondered,
yes.
was that the same wig, or
Oh, it was definitely the same wig.
they must have had
because
to
it
cut
was
while
a-
they unravelled the plaits?
They might have done, although they were quite loosely plaited, and I don't know if I couldn't
Teased them out while Herr Flick was talking.
Yeah,
Yes.
Beautiful.
We had some fun in that scene, didn't we?
we did.
It was a
didn't we?
classic.
I know, it was wonderful. I mean, Flick.
Ah. No. We
What's our
stopped
forfeit?
doing that forfeit
No, we
nonsense.
didn't.
Yes, we did.
I haven't stopped it.
Well,
What's our
I've
forfeit
stopped
But
to
it
be?
was the first one, wasn't it, that's happened?
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to what you were saying.
I just loved when Flick threw his glass over his shoulder and clutched Helga around the back of the neck.
Yes.
I mean, suddenly
Time for a kiss.
you've lost all your inhibition.
Go wild.
Yeah.
It was. But we were doing the stage show before this and during it,
Yeah.
and I noticed that all the performances are just slightly bigger. Did you notice that?
Oh, that's interesting.
They're just slightly,
I didn't, but no, I didn't. Was mine bigger?
slightly. I mean, I don't mean in a bad way, but I think there was a bit boldness. Maybe because we'd been living with the characters so much.
Yeah, maybe we were so much more confident.
I'm
Without
surprised, the way
characters.
we behaved in the dressing room theatre. I'm surprised we weren't too exhausted to do the show.
They had any energy left
Yes,
to do
we were
it.
so busy pranking each other and
Larking
everyone else
about.
in the theatre, larking about.
Yeah. Pranking Kim with her slippers.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
It was. We were on the third floor, I think. We had dressing rooms up on the third floor.
It was like a lighthouse, wasn't it? You
Yes.
you came in the stage door and you went up and up and up all these concrete steps.
The Prince of Wales.
Yeah.
And you had these high heels, so you used to bring slippers,
That's
which you
right.
kept in your dressing room, and you carried your shoes downstairs.
Yeah.
And
And then I left the
stage-
slippers in the wings, and then when I came off stage, I put the slippers back on and went back up the stairs.
But
again.
quite often, before you managed to come back, the stage crew had found places to conceal your slippers, and they would turn up in the most unlikely places. I remember when there was a scene, I think, I was an usherette. Herr Flick got disguised as an
That's
usherette.
right, and I was with the captain. It was when Sam was still
Yes.
in the stage show, and we were sitting on like these two seats, were they
Yes.
cinema
seats.
And so we had a couple of sort of seat backs and seats in front of us, and we were sitting behind them, and Herr Flick had to come along and start saying.
It was
to
because
me,
I told you to go and get some information, but it was so long by the time we got to that bit, since I had instructed you to go, they said we need a little bit with Herr Flick to come in and remind the audience why they're in the cinema, which meant getting dressed up as an usherette, of course, with fishnets.
Very funny.
The usual.
In the fishnets and high heels.
Yes.
But I think there was one time when you came on with your ice cream tray or your cigarette tray, whatever it was, and my slippers were in the tray.
Correct. And when they weren't in the tray, they were tucked into the seats in front of you.
Yeah, they
And
were.
every time you went down to do that scene, you knew something was going to happen.
Yes,
And then
yes, I
it
was
turned up
with
on the
you.
table in the cafe once, one of them.
Yeah.
We had these little round tables with gingham tablecloths on them. And the stage crew, they just put one of your slippers on the table once. Just left it there. And the audience might have thought, why is there a pink fluffy slipper on that table? And they might have just thought they're going to do something with it, or it was a mistake, and nobody would think the stage crew had deliberately left one of Kim's slippers on the
To
table
make me laugh.
to make her laugh. I wrote an obscenity on the side of my face once when I came down to give you the instructions. Do you remember? On my temple, I wrote a 4-letter word, and she did corpse. She did. Now we're grown-ups, we wouldn't do things
We wouldn't do
that
anything
anymore.
like that.
Hey Daddy, I'm all grown up.
We'd never
we
mess
wouldn't.
about on stage anymore, would we?
Stop messing about.
I just had a thought when you were talking about the fact that we were all on the third floor and that it was like a lighthouse when you went up and up and up and
Yeah.
up. And it suddenly occurred to me, because of course we all had tannoys, it was, an electric tannoy system. But it suddenly occurred to me that it must have been not more than a few years before when there was only a call boy.
Yes.
And imagine having to go up and down those stairs and give the
Yes.
actors calls.
Yes.
This is something, ladies and gentlemen, you possibly don't know this, but at the time before we had tannoy systems put into theatres, there was a man called a call boy whose job was usually an elderly gentleman, or often an elderly gentleman, sometimes a boy, but he was called a call boy, whose job it was to call the actors for their scenes.
Mr. Signage to the stage,
Yes,
please.
Mr. Signage to the stage. And so he would have to rush up 3 floors and call me, I don't know, 2 minutes before I was due to make my entrance, so I had time to walk down the stairs. And he had to do this for every actor in every scene throughout the entire play. That was his job.
Yeah.
And it must have been exhausting in a theatre like that.
Wasn't it?
And there was a theatre in London, because it was a listed building, they weren't allowed to put a tannoy system in. They couldn't put the electric. They weren't allowed to put the electrics in. So
Really?
they had a call boy even
That
then.
would
I
be the
think that was in the 80s. Thank you.
Must have been
it
the
was the Haymarket.
Bristol and Vic Theatre, which we've all worked in,
Indeed.
still has all the apparatus that they used to use for making wind noises and thunderstorms, and there was a sort of track that a cannonball ran down to make thunder,
right.
and they had a sort of canvas sheet that was on a roller, and you turned a handle, it made the sound of rain and wind,
I didn't
and it's
know
still
that.
there.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't dare use it now, because if the cannonball falls off its tracks, it drops through the ceiling.
Yes. Yes.
Blow, winds, and crack your cheeks. Rage, blow.
When I was an ASM at the Belgrade Theatre in Coventry, we did a play that was written by Arnold Ridley, who played the old man in Dad's Army.
Was it the Ghost Train?
And it was the Ghost Train.
Yes.
Brilliant play.
Wonderful
And it was
play.
the first thing I'd gone along as a student ASM. And I was ironing shirts and making coffee and all sorts of hideous things. And at last, in this production, I was actually working backstage. And I had to put props on tables and do all sorts of things. And it was terribly exciting. And then suddenly, they had this very atmospheric beginning where they had a steam train arriving on a platform. And they actually created the sound of the steam train by pulling big garden rollers across slats, wooden slats that they'd nailed
Live?
into the... Yeah,
Live.
nailed.
Oh, I see. Not recorded.
So, yeah, no, and there was somebody else on a couple of lights on each side of the stage which had gobos in them, which spun
Yes.
to look like, so it looked like windows going
Windows
past.
of trains
Yes.
rushing
the back.
past. And
people, I was one of them who squirted smoke, fake smoke, which is, I was a smoke squirter, that was my bit. I
A
wasn't,
smoke
I
squirter?
wasn't, yes.
You were born to be a
But
smoke
then
squirter.
suddenly, at the last minute, just before the first night, the director said, you know what would be great would be when the curtain rises and it's semi-light and the train's going on, if we had a mouse running across the stage. Kim, he said, can you make a mouse and we can put it on some nylon cord and, fishing wire, and you can pull it across it. You could squirt the smoke and then pull the mouse across the stage and then the train comes in.
So you were a smoke squirter and a mouse
And a
puller.
mouse puller. I was beside myself with excitement. I mean, this was my first performance
Yeah.
on stage, was the mouse. So I built this. I got some Play-Doh and I put it on a dinky car and I turned it into a little mouse. And we did the preview. I think there were a couple of previews, or no, dress rehearsals, I think. First dress rehearsal, I sent one of my friends out front. No, couldn't really see it with all the excitement of the train going on. You can't really see the mouse. So I painted it white, sort of luminous type paint. No, by now we were coming up to the first night. So in between the shows, I bought a little lorry and I built
A corgi lorry.
a massive, like that big
A rat.
mouse that was virtually a rat. I painted it luminous white. My mum and dad were coming to the first night because we used to be given two free tickets. So my mum and dad always had the free tickets and they'd come and watch. This was it, my mouse at the beginning. It came to my moment, the little light went on, from red, stand by, green, go! I pulled the mouse. It was so big, it got caught on one of the legs of the chair in the waiting room. I was was going on. And he wouldn't come any further. The leading actor who was playing the station master came on the stage at the beginning, as he had to do, to sort of amble across the stage. Got his laces caught in the fishing wire. Brought to his knees, rolling about with a chair on top of him. Still desperately in the wings trying to pull this thing.
And did he know you were the cause of it?
Well, yes, everyone knew I was the cause of it in the end. The director was incandescent. How I didn't lose my job. I mean, I was only about 17 or something. So I think they decided that they would sort of give me another chance.
But no props to be made.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Ghost Train. Bit of trivia. Who wrote it?
Arnold Ridley.
Well done. And since we were talking about Allo'Allo...
I'll tell you why I know.
And
Shall I tell you how I know?
It
was Arnold Ridley. Because Kim just told us.
Oh, did she? I'm so sorry.
Godfrey in Dad's Army.
Who played Godfrey in Dad's Army, since we're talking about a David Croft show.
Yes.
And he
I
sold
thought-
the rights, didn't he? He sold the rights
Please
to the
don't tell
Ghost
me that.
Train.
He sold the rights
There's
a long time
something-
ago for £100. Very many years ago.
Which I suppose £100 was a lot of money in those
He
days.
said to the end of his life, when people said, don't you feel a fool that, because it's probably one of the most successful stage plays ever written.
Yeah.
It's a really good thriller.
It's a wonderful thriller, and the point is that it is constantly produced. And people used to say to him, don't you feel a fool that you sold the rights to the play, and all these years it's been going on and it's been so successful and you never got a penny out of it. He said, I was very lucky at the time. I needed the money, and it was a very generous settlement at the time.
Yes.
I have no regrets.
Yeah.
Invented the ghost train.
The train! I can see it! It's on the last curve before the bridge. We'll never stop it!
We've got to stop it. Tell to pull up here. I'm cutting down the hill.
Lionel Bart sold all the rights to Oliver, and then when it was revived by Cameron Mackintosh, he gave him back a chunk of the rights. But that's a producer who does things out of love as well as money, isn't it?
Yes.
There's
And
also a
actually
producer who can afford to be very generous.
Yeah,
No,
but
not always. No, I mean, I
But
think
also
the thing
he-
about producers, isn't it, is that their funds can go up and down.
Yeah.
I think Cameron Mackintosh.
Nothing to do with the gym at all.
No. No, but it's a combination that the people who have the best lives and make the best things often do things because they're enthusiastic about them.
Exactly,
And the money
exactly.
is
It's secondary.
Incidental.
Yeah,
incidental
very
or
secondary.
not
Yeah.
the only thing.
Exactly.
People who do things just for money, they're not always as... what they produce is not always as good.
Yes.
What was that noise? Was that a cat making a strange noise?
No, I think it was my husband sneezing.
Oh, it's your husband sneezing.
Was that Ron
The head of
Hartman?
everything. When you're the head of the studio,
The
you
head
can
of the
do as you
studio.
please.
He can sneeze where and when he likes.
Correct. Oh, he's back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Hartman, our boss, has invaded the studio once more. As you can see.
9 o'clock. Good Lord. Now, what else in this episode did you particularly like, Kim?
I very much like the fact that Monsieur Alphonse once again got the chance to goose Edith when they go behind the bar into the back room.
I love you, I love you, I love you.
Ooh!
Monsieur Alphonse impression out of the way. No, and the ooh, I think,
And
counts as an
Carmen
Edith.
Silvera, yes, the Edith impression, also out of the way.
Yes.
It's nice to get the impressions done with so we
Yes.
can move on.
That's right. We haven't done a Jacques Egg
No, we
or a
haven't.
Rose Hill.
No, well, we
Well, they
haven't
haven't really
needed
been in.
to.
Rose wasn't in this episode, was she?
No, she wasn't.
No.
She showed her leg in the last episode, but we haven't seen her. And I don't think we saw the airman.
Do you know, I think you're right.
I think you're right too. I don't think we did.
They
see
were there
them.
in the credits, and I remember thinking, why is John D. Collins in the credits? I don't think he was actually in it, was he?
I thought the camera in the potato was very good. It was such an awful prop, wasn't it? It was just horrible. This horrible.
Was it actually a
brown
potato?
No, it was
No,
sort of
it was
stiff and
plaster.
wooden and brown. And then you pulled it open and had this
And there was the
nasty
camera,
little
yes.
sort of plasticky camera inside.
Yeah.
It was vile. I like that.
But René managed to skewer it.
Yeah, yes, and
Somehow.
and then still use it afterwards.
Yes.
Because at the end of the scene,
But it
he
wasn't
did manage to
clearly
take
hard
it.
plastic, because he did manage to get a toasting fork into it, didn't he?
He did.
Maybe it was a different potato from the one that Kirsten had.
Of course,
in
it
the
was probably
first
a potato.
scene. Yes.
But he did, at the very end of the scene, he did use it, having locked Gruber in the wardrobe.
That's right. Actually, I thought that was an unusually wooden performance.
Thank you.
Even for
you. Thank you very much.
I've been waiting to say that all this
I
time.
knew you've been waiting for me. Yeah.
But they did get good value out of Monsieur Leclerc's taxi thing with the flag, didn't
Yes.
they? No, not Monsieur Leclerc,
That's
Monsieur
Monsieur
Alphonse.
Monsieur Alphonse.
Because it was
Yeah.
in the previous episode
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yes, once again, he had you know, the
the
meter
flag
is,
is
the
down.
flag is down.
Yes. And whenever there's a reference to anything being transported, it's always either Flick and Helga's Gestapo car, or it's the Orsers.
Yes, the
And
small
just
horse with the
small
small
and-
horse. Oh,
and-
small
and-
horse with the small horse. The
Small
small
horse.
horse with the small horse.
The small horse with the small horse, and I love the fact that the small horse with the small horse is metered.
Yes.
It's wonderful. It's the taxi.
Yes.
It's a horse.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yes. The outside world again, he says.
Yeah.
Yes, and he counts it so exactly. You know,
Yeah.
200 francs plus service.
Monsieur Alphonse impression number 2. Very good it was
Very
too, I
good
thought.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, splendid.
Wait plus waiting time.
Of course, if they did the show ever again, you would probably get to play Monsieur Alphonse, you bastard, and I get to
Except
play
I'm-
Monsieur Leclerc.
Except I'm too old.
No.
And I'd be grandmother.
You'd be Fanny up in the bed.
Oh.
Fanny impression out of the way. You could just about pass for Edith.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She could.
Yeah, you could play Edith. What would I play? Monsieur Leclerc, I suppose.
Monsieur Leclerc.
Yes, I think you could definitely give us a good Monsieur Leclerc.
It would have to be.
And I tell you what else, going back to actual story in the outside world, at the end, when they have the RAF bombing raid, when you're in your bath and René is in your room and everything, and the bombing raid is about to happen, and it's sort of real, the sirens go off, and it's sort of real panic and quite scary,
Yes,
really.
but René knows about it as well. He has to pretend. Oh, this is usually the time. They
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is only an exercise or something. Well, I've had a laugh anyway, even if you lot haven't.
I enjoyed it enormously.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is dinner time for us. Kim has made a beautiful, what is it?
Unpronounceable dish.
An unpronounceable dish, which is a
Johoppity
sort of a shepherd's
What's
pie.
it called?
It's called Johoppity pie.
Johoppity pie.
Yeah.
A Johoppity pie, and we're longing for it, and more gin. And so thank you so much once again for joining us.
Thank you for coming to my kitchen.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
And if you have any questions or answers or stories for Kim, Guy or Richard, do get in touch at pod@helgagruberflick.com.